Hello, welcome to the science class. I am Biplab Bothra and today we are going to do the first chapter of science, that is chemical reaction and equations. Now in this chapter, before we start with this chapter, we need to know about the type of changes. So which are the two type of changes? The two type of changes are physical change and a chemical change. Now what do we mean by physical change? A physical change is a change in which no new substance is formed, whereas a chemical change is a change in which a new substance is formed. That is a very basic difference. Now moving ahead, no change in the chemical composition. That means there is nothing new chemical being formed here, whereas in a chemical change a new chemical substance will be formed. For example, if we say melting of wax melt to form a liquid wax. So the state has changed from solid to liquid, whereas we say in a chemical change a burning of magnesium ribbon. Now what happens to the magnesium ribbon? I'll show you. When we have a magnesium ribbon, let's say Mg, it burns and combines with oxygen to form MgO. So we see that magnesium burns in the presence of oxygen from the atmosphere to form white powdery substance, that is magnesium oxide. So a new substance has been formed from the magnesium, and that is magnesium oxide. So we call it as a chemical change. Now, what is chemical reaction? A reaction in which new substance is formed is called a chemical reaction. Now, all the chemical reactions can be shown in terms of symbols and formula, as what we can see here. Magnesium ka symbol Mg, and then for oxygen we have O2 because it's an oxygen molecule, and the formation of magnesium oxide, so we write MgO. So a chemical reaction expressed in the terms of symbols and formula is called a chemical equation. Now coming to balancing the chemical equation, why do we need to balance a chemical equation? So as to satisfy the law of conservation of mass. Law of conservation of mass, what does it say? It says that before the reaction and after the reaction the mass remains constant. That means there is no change in the mass. So that means very simple, there is no change in the number of atoms as well. So let us see this. Magnesium, how many atoms? One atom. And here magnesium, one atom. Over here the oxygen, two atoms. Or either dekhiye here, only one. So what we need to put 2 here in the coefficient. If someone comes and says, sir, put 2 here and it get balanced. No, that is a wrong concept. We need to put 2 in the coefficient. So this becomes 2 Mg and 2 oxygen. Now this magnesium has been disturbed because this side we have 2 and this side only 1. So I'll put 2 here as well. Now look, the 2 magnesium atom over here and here as well, on the left hand side as well as on the right hand side, and 2 oxygen over here as well as over there. So we have balanced this equation. Now while writing a chemical equation, we need to look that whatever we write on the left hand side are called reactants, and whatever we have on the right hand side of the equation are called products. Now the reactants, if there are more than one reactant, we put a plus sign in between them. And similarly, if we have more than one product, let's see this one. So we'll put plus to separate the products as well. Now we can also show the state like solid, liquid, gases, aqueous, etc. Now coming to the next topic of the chapter, that is types of chemical reaction. So how many types of chemical reaction? I have noted 8 over here, as you can see. Chemical combination reaction, decomposition, displacement, double displacement, exothermic reaction, endothermic reaction, and to the very last, oxidation and reduction. Those can be called together as redox reaction. Now coming back to the point, what is chemical combination reaction? So a reaction in which 2 or more reactants combine to form one single product. So here we can see an example where calcium oxide combines with water to form calcium hydroxide, CaOH twice. Similarly, we have carbon combining with oxygen to form carbon dioxide. Now look at this. These are the two elements. Carbon as one element and oxygen, of course, it's a molecule of the element of oxygen. But when two elements combine to form one single product, such a type of reaction is also known as synthesis reaction. So synthesis is a type of chemical combination reaction. Now coming back to the next one, decomposition reaction. What do we mean by decomposition? It's just opposite of combination. Suppose if in combination I say A and B combine to form AB. So in a decomposition reaction, we already have AB, which will decompose to form A plus B. Very simple. We can say a decomposition reaction is a reaction in which one reactant breaks down to form two or more products. Now there are three different types of decomposition reaction: thermal decomposition, electrolytic decomposition, and photolytic decomposition. Okay, what do we mean by thermal? The name itself says thermal matlab heat. So the decomposition reaction which takes place under the influence of heat. Heat can be shown by this triangle. Okay. So here we have one FeSO4, ferrous sulfate. If I take this ferrous sulfate and heat it, it will decompose to ferric oxide, sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide. Similarly, calcium carbonate on heating will form calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. So these are the two examples of thermal decomposition. Electrolytic decomposition, where electric energy plays an important part. You know about the electrolytic dissociation of water. When we take water and pass electric current, what happens? It breaks into hydrogen and oxygen. Now to balance this, we need to put 2 here. 2 hydrogen, 2 2s are 4. So we'll put 2 here as well. So this is an example of electrolytic decomposition. Photolytic decomposition. Look, chemicals like silver chloride undergoes, in the sunlight, they will break into Ag plus Cl2. To balance this, we have to put 2 here and 2 here. And one nice give reason we can have from this topic. Why silver chloride is kept in a dark bottle? Because on exposure to sunlight, it will decompose. So here, instead of chlorine, we can also have bromine, and the similar sort of reaction, silver and bromine molecule will be formed. Now coming to the next topic, which is called displacement reaction. What is displacement reaction? Displace means replace, किसी को हटाया और किसी को वहां लगा दिया. So replacement or displacement reaction. Now to learn the displacement reaction, we need to know the metal reactivity series. What is metal reactivity series? This is a series in the descending order of the reactivity of the metals. So potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminium, carbon, zinc, iron, tin, lead, hydrogen, copper, silver and gold. Why did we include copper and hydrogen into it? Of course, they are not metal, but they are included because most of the reaction, they come into play, right? So we need to have this as well in the series. Now, which is more reactive? Let us take one example out of iron and copper. Of course, we see that iron comes before copper. So iron is more reactive than copper. So अगर मैं एक reaction करता हूँ, if we do a reaction in which we take an iron nail and put it into copper sulfate solution, what will happen? So let us see that. So iron nail is placed in copper sulfate. So that will result into the formation of ferrous sulfate and copper will get separated. Now we need to know the color. The color of the copper sulfate. It is also known as blue vitriol. So iska color kaun sa hoga? Blue. And ferrous sulfate also known as green vitriol. So iska color kya ho jayega? Green. That's right. Now in the displacement reaction, we have seen that we have got BC together and then comes A. So what does this A do? A displaces the B. So we get AC and B is separated out. So this is a displacement reaction where we can say a more reactive metal displaces the less reactive metal from its salt solution. Now coming to the double displacement reaction, let us first write ABCD and then we'll go. So if I say AB a compound and CD is another compound, so A will go and displace C and C will come and displace A. So it's just exchange of ions and radicals, CB and AD, right? Now here if we take example sodium sulfate, barium chloride, what should happen? The barium will go and displace sodium and sodium will come and displace barium, right? So we'll get barium sulfate, BaSO4, and sodium chloride, NaCl. But there are two molecules, so we'll write 2. So this is a good example of double displacement reaction. Now in a double displacement reaction, we still have two types, neutralization and precipitation. Neutralization, you all are aware, when an acid reacts with a base, it forms dash and dash, salt and water. So when acid reacts with a base to form salt and water, we will say it's a neutralization reaction. And precipitation, precipitate means insoluble salt that are formed during the reaction are called precipitates. So a reaction in which insoluble salt is formed, we'll call it as a precipitation reaction. Now moving ahead, exothermic reaction and endothermic reaction. Exothermic reaction, a reaction in which heat energy is liberated, we call it as exothermic, and in which heat energy is absorbed is called an endothermic reaction. Example of exothermic, burning natural gas in air. So what do we have? CNG and PNG at our home. When we burn that, the main constituent is methane, CH4. When it burns in oxygen, we get carbon dioxide and water. Now to balance this, one carbon, oxygen 2, 2 plus 1, 3, and hydrogen 2, and over here 2, and this side 4. So I'll place 2. Now look, oxygen becomes 2 plus 2, 4. So I'll have to place 2 here as well. This is how we balance the chemical equation. Now, coming to the oxidation and reduction part. What do we mean by oxidation? Oxidation means add oxygen, oxygen under add karna. And reduction means to add hydrogen. Okay, so oxidation, as the name says, oxidation, add oxygen. Reduction means add hydrogen. Now, in other way, how can we say? Oxidation means add oxygen or remove hydrogen. Whereas in reduction, we can say add hydrogen or remove oxygen, right? So the substance which here we see the addition of oxygen. So we get CuO. So addition of oxygen can be called as oxidation. And when we add hydrogen, so what happens? The oxygen is removed from copper. And this is called reduction. So removal of oxygen can also be called as reduction. Now, the substance which forms oxidation is also known as reducing agent. Like for example, here, let's say this hydrogen, it displaces the oxygen. So look, this copper has lost oxygen. So losing of oxygen means what? So losing of oxygen, that means it has lost oxygen. That means it has undergone reduction. So one which undergoes reduction is an oxidizing agent. And look at this hydrogen. It has gained oxygen. That means it has undergone oxidation. And it is a reducing agent. Therefore, hydrogen is a good reducing agent. In our next class, we'll be learning about corrosion and rancidity. So till now, this is enough, and then you need to prepare the related question answers as given in the worksheet. Thank you for attending the class.